Welcome to the Dr. Elizabeth King Show, where it's all about health, wealth, happiness, and purpose. Dr. Elizabeth King is recognized internationally as a health and wellness expert. She is a psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, speaker, and author of Dr. King's Simple Guide to Holistic Health. Listen here in South Florida on AM 1470 WNN or around the globe at www.ihchealthfusion.com. Brought to you by International Holistic Center, 3471 North Federal Highway, Fort Lauderdale, where feeling good is now an option. Call 954-903-9426 to schedule an appointment. And now, here's your host, Dr. Elizabeth King.
Welcome, everyone. This is my show. This is the Dr. Elizabeth King Show, and I'm so happy you're joining us today. We're here on Thursdays at noon, and the show replays at 7 p.m. on Saturdays. We are live streaming right now, so you can go on our website, which is www.ihchealthfusion.com, and actually see us. Dr. David is right here across the way. Hi, Dr. David.
Hi, Dr. King. Thanks for having me on again today.
Thank you for being here. Dr. David Webb is our Doctor of Oriental Medicine, acupuncture physician at the International Holistic Center, and I know that you know him because he's here for 5 years. I think we've been doing the show, and he's been with me a lot. We have a very interesting topic to share with you today. I'm going to let him tell you what that's going to be.
Yes, you know, whenever you have me on, I often talk about conditions that contribute to disabilities, and most of the time that's chronic pain. A lot of chronic pain conditions contribute to disability. And today I wanted to talk about a very important disabling condition. It's actually the leading cause of disability worldwide. And it's not chronic pain, but depression.
Depression, yes.
It's a very, very, very widespread and growing condition. And so because of that, I think it's really important that we continue to talk about it and talk about effective treatment options.
And the great thing that we're going to do today is, like Dr. David and I always do, is that we fuse what we both do to really look at the whole person, and that's a holistic approach with conventional and non-conventional medicine. Dr. David obviously does alternative medicine because he's a doctor of Oriental medicine, and I am conventionally trained as a psychotherapist, but I am now a holistic psychotherapist. So when you mix the two, you have health fusion, which is what we talk about, and what happens is that you really are addressing mind, body, and spirit, and that's really getting to the root of the problem instead of just masking it and giving, a Band-Aid approach.
We're very much about treating the whole person at our center.
Yeah, so we have a lot to talk about that, so make sure that you don't leave this program. If you know of anyone that suffers from depression, if you yourself suffers from depression, if you have a loved one or even work with someone that suffers from depression, you really want to stay tuned for this program. It's going to give you some answers and give you some options, which is what we're really about.
Yes.
But before we get into our topic, I want to get into our announcements because I always like to do that at the beginning of the hour. I want to invite you to, you're probably looking at this beautiful centerpiece right here, and there's stilettos with a wine glass and some butterflies, and this is our mascot, I call it, for our symbol for Suit Stilettos and Lipstick, the Balancing Act, is our conference coming up July 12th at the Ritz-Carlton in Fort Lauderdale. I want to invite every single lady out there that is watching or listening to this program to attend this wonderful, luxurious, lovely day for you. This is really teaching you how to put the oxygen mask on first, because so oftentimes we don't do that. We get on the plane, we know to do that, but in life, we don't do it. And it's so important. Remember, if we change women, we change the world. And I know that you know what I'm talking about. You know that you help the families stay together. You know that you help the families as a mom, as a sister, as a wife, as a colleague. You're doing a lot. And this conference is for you. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about hormones and female issues, and from the time you're a newborn female all the way until you're 101, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the beauty inside of you, the motivational part, the driven, the purpose, the mission. Why are you doing everything that you do? And why are you not doing what you want to do. We're going to talk about all those things. We're also going to talk about women and money. Oh my goodness, what a topic. And we're going to use a panel of experts that are going to address money in so many different angles, from a accountant, from an attorney that deals with divorce, from an accountant that deals with wills and guardianship, because your parents will maybe need you. You may be in that situation where you're dealing with guardianship. All of that, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about finances. How do you save, spend, and really plan for investing for your future? We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to have an incredible panel of very, very highly successful women that have achieved at the top of their careers. And they're going to share what have been their limitations, their barriers, and how they've been able to overcome those obstacles. They're going to give you the tips that you're going to be able to put them into your life the next day. And in fact, we're going to include those tips in our program book so that you walk away with a keepsake of something that you are going to be able to grab onto. This day is a day for you. It's a day for you to gain self-confidence, gain the ability to see beyond, and to understand that we are all sisters and we're going to be supporting each other. And that's really how I love to explain this whole thing. It started off as a conference, but it has turned into a movement, and a movement that I'm very passionate about. We have just extended pre-registration prices until Monday, June 17th. So if you want to purchase your ticket, you go to suitsstilettosandlipstick.com. Suitsstilettosandlipstick.com. Very easy. Not easy to spell, but easy to remember. Or you can call our office, which is 954-903-9426, 954-903-9426. Get your tickets, get your girlfriends, get your family, girls, all together. Come out and do this for you. And remember, it's time to put your oxygen mask on first. I'm so excited about it. We have so many great speakers. Look on the website. You're going to see who's going to be there, the panelists. We even have the news director from CBS is going to be there, and she's going to be on that panel of getting to the top of your career ladder and how do you accomplish, especially a woman like Liz, because number one, she's Hispanic. Number two, she's competing against a male-dominated world. She's the only female news desk director. So I'm dying to hear what she has to share, and there's so many other women that are going to be there sharing their experiences and giving you tips that you really are going to be able to incorporate into your life. So Suit Stilettos and Lipstick, July 12th. Again, June 17th, which is Monday, is the deadline for pre-registration. It was yesterday, but PayPal had a little glitch, and so people were not able to get all their tickets, and we were having people calling the office and all that good stuff. And just to be fair to the folks that tried, I wanted to give you a little extra time, so that's why we're extending it. It's $150, and it includes lunch and the full day. VIP, it's $200. And if you need a scholarship, we are offering partial scholarships. We do not want to turn women away. I want you to sit down next to a woman that's a millionaire, next to a entrepreneur, I want everybody to be in equal planes, and no one's going to know anybody's business. But if you want to be there and you are hearing this program right now, call me. I'm doing everything possible to get more scholarships, and even if I can give you a partial scholarship, I want you to be there. So again, Suit Stilettos and Lipstick, July 12th. Be there. We'd love to have you. Isn't that exciting?
Yes.
And you're going to be
exciting.
there, right?
I was there last year, and it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience, and I highly recommend it. I had a wonderful time. So
yeah. And men are
great.
actually welcome too, as you can possibly imagine. Smart men want to be where there's 350 women.
There were a lot of men there last year.
There were a lot of men. I would say probably about 30 or 40 men last year. So it's certainly, we say we're woman focused but guy friendly, and we definitely welcome you if you see the opportunities for you to support women's movement. By the way, if you have a business that you would like to be an exhibitor, I think we have like 3 booths left, or they're counting down very quickly. So if you have, I think, anything that appeals to women, you definitely should look into it. So there's an application on our website. You can apply, and we will let you know if it fits the needs of the conference and if we're a good fit for each other, and then you can come on board. If you want to sponsor and support women's issues, this is the opportunity for you to be in front of 350 women at the conference, minimum. And then we have Sassy Connections, which is our monthly networking events. So you not only buy into the conference, you buy into the movement, which means you buy into Sassy Connection. And the last one, we had 101 women. So it was incredibly wonderful, and it's getting larger and larger. So you have a large audience, and if you feel like this is your market and you want to appeal to professional women, you need to come and get connected with us. SuitStilettosandLipstick.com, and I'll be probably plugging this again at some point in the show, because I really want you there. Let's see, do we have time to get into anything before we go to commercial break? Well, can we go on a commercial break and then come back? Are we set to do that? Okay, we're going to do that, and then when we come back, we'll jump into our topic. This is Dr. Elizabeth King, and this is my show with Dr. David Webb, and we're going to be right back.
Did you know that over 50% of marriages end in divorce and over 70% of second marriages end in divorce? This is Yvonne Haas, licensed psychotherapist with the International Holistic Center, and I expertly guide couples and families through their many transitions. Whether you are just beginning, looking to reignite or resolve conflicts in your relationship, or going through a divorce, I can support you and your family. I am also a certified parenting coordinator and member of the Florida Adoption Council. Call me at 954-903-9426, and remember, feeling good is now an option.
Your path to true health and wellness is unique and requires treating the whole person, not just the disease, or worse, a set of symptoms. Founded and led by Dr. Elizabeth King, the International Holistic Center in Fort Lauderdale offers the most effective and comprehensive approach to health and wellness by fusing conventional and alternative therapies to address the whole person. From the moment you step into the spa-like atmosphere at IHC and meet the expert multidisciplinary staff, you'll know that you've entered a place dedicated to providing exemplary physical, emotional, and spiritual care tailored to meet your specific needs. Located at 3471 North Federal Highway, Suite 410 in Fort Lauderdale, IHC specialists offer acupuncture, counseling, life coaching, thermography, on-demand, massage therapy, and a lot more. For more information or to make an appointment, please call 954-903-9426. That's 954-903-9426. Or visit them on the web at ihchealthfusion.com. Feeling good is now an option.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Elizabeth King. I'm so happy you're joining us today. And we are here every Thursday at noon, on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Today, my co-host is Dr. David Webb. Hi, Dr. David.
Hi, Dr. King, and hello to all our listeners today.
Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Right.
Remember, we're live streaming. It's not just listening.
Kind of a new experience
It
for
is
us.
a new experience.
We're
It's
getting
kind of-
used to it, though.
Yeah, so you may see us doing a lot of extra stuff here, but this is live, so it is what it is. I'm so happy you're joining us. Just pull up a couch and on a couch and get cozy. If you're at work right now and you're listening or watching us when hopefully you're not supposed to, but if you are allowed to watch us, just listen in and take it all in, because this show is for you, for you, for you, for you. We want to give you all of the options so that you know how to take control over your life. And I say this every time I'm on the air, but I feel like more and more people are listening and are coming in to watch us. And I want to say that this is, for me, a mission. This is a mission that I am on, that no one's going to stop me from telling you that you have the option to feel good. And that's our tagline: feeling good is now an option. Because 8 years ago, when I was bedridden for 2 years, 2 years of my life were taken, I did not know that. I thought that that was it. I was never going to walk again. I was told I was never going to walk again. And I thought, that's it for me. I'm going to be in this horrible bed for the rest of my life. And how depressing is that? Which is a great segue to our topic. But I don't want you to feel like you're alone. There are so many options, and we're here just to give you a few of the options, to give you enough to give you a light at the end of the tunnel, so that you know that you can give us a call and we can guide you to your wellness, to your the best that you can be. So I'm very excited that you're joining us, and today's topic is about depression. And Dr. David and I work very well hand in hand, because, like I said at the first part of the show, that depression is not just one-fold, right?
It's a very complex issue, very complex, with so many different causes. I wanted to talk about depression today because it is so common. Nowadays, when I'm seeing patients in my practice, I rarely see a person who's not on a pharmaceutical antidepressant medication. They are so commonly dispensed. And it is not only a very, very common condition. Like I said, it's the number one leading cause of disability worldwide, but it is something that I think we really need to look at how we're treating it, and how effective the conventional treatment options are, and are there better treatment options.
Absolutely.
So in thinking about it, at first I like to talk about what is the condition, because sometimes I'm talking about rather strange sounding conditions, and not everyone is familiar with. But depression is something that I think most people are very familiar with. But then I started to think about it. How does someone know? Are they just having a blue day, or are they suffering from clinical depression? When does someone need to seek treatment? When do they not? So I kind of thought it might be valuable to start off from your point, Dr. King, really talking about the psychological aspect of it. Are there key symptoms for a person to really be able to decide, do I have clinical depression, or is it just a bad day, and do I need to seek treatment?
Well, the key point is that how long are you having it for? That's the real basis for the differentiation there. You have to see how long is it happening. If you woke up one day and you're crying, and you feel real blue, and you feel a little bit desperate, but the next day it was just a bad day. If the next day you were back to being on track, it's the symptoms are, let me start with that. The symptoms are, you're going to feel very blue, crying. You can feel like you've lost your appetite. You can't sleep, or you sleep too much. So it could be any extremes. You could be like, you can't get up out of bed, or you can't stay in bed. You feel so like anxious, because depression and anxiety work hand in hand. And I know that you wanted to speak on both topics today, but it's such a big topic.
Both of them are so big.
Both of them are so big that I'm glad that we separated them out, but it is very likely that you may be suffering from both. So you may feel anxious, or you may just feel really super down. Where I would be concerned is if you're having thoughts of suicide. That's very important. No matter whether it just happened today, or it happened for 6 months, the moment that you have concerns that you are going to take your life, that is a moment for you to be looking for professional help, without a doubt, okay? So that's number one. Number two is that while you're going through these periods and episodes of feeling not so good and not so on your game, or feeling like you can't handle it, life is out of control, I want you to ask yourself, is something going on in your life that's making you feel that? You see, so there's a lot of different layers of this. That's why a professional is really warranted in depression, unless it's a just one day event. If it's a situational, and I know that we want to talk a little bit more about this, but if it's situational, it's still as scary and as concerning for me as if it was a clinical depression. Because a lot of people get the idea that life is never going to change and it's going to be so dark that they don't see their way out, and they commit suicide during a situational depression. So both are very, very scary, and both are very critical for you to go and seek help ASAP. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Does that answer some of your questions?
Yes, and I'll add one thing, because you're so right in really emphasizing the importance of seeking treatment if you have even the beginnings of thoughts of suicide. But of course, that doesn't mean that you don't need to seek treatment before that. I think a lot of people nowadays, because I run into people a lot in my practice who are coming to me because they're looking more for natural kind of holistic treatments, and they don't want to take a medication. So I think some people are a little bit, shying away from that, and not knowing that there are effective alternative treatments, they don't seek treatment at all. They feel, well, my depression isn't that bad, so I'll just deal with it. And I want people to realize that there are effective treatments, and that you can, no matter how minor your depression is, you can seek help for looking at some very simple, very natural, low to no side effect treatment approaches, so that you don't get to that point where you really need to absolutely seek treatment because it's gotten so bad.
Well, one of the things that really brought me to do the conference is that last year I was seeing more and more women coming in with depression, and with a shopping bag full of medication, and or using Xanax and all these antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and a lot of it had to do with feeling overwhelmed. They just, they're trying to juggle, doing this balancing act, being mom, being wife, being executive, being this, being that, and entrepreneur. And I saw it more and more. And that's really what led me to this. But to your point, it is so critical that you understand that there is so much more than just the medication. And I know that you and I have co-treated a couple of clients of ours that came in with their shopping bag and were totally skeptics, by the way, about this. And when I asked them, what are you eating? And they went, wait a second, you're a psychotherapist. Why are you asking me about nutrition? Because, we don't think about nutrition to be a huge part of our existence. I don't know why, since that's our fuel, but that's the way we've been trained. And when you look at food sensitivities and you look at, the balancing of the body with the techniques that you use, and I know that we're going to get into more and more of the different alternatives. There are so many options. They get better results, faster results, and get off the medication.
Yes.
And so, it is so important that you know that there are other options.
I'm glad you brought up that story of why you started the conference, because I remember you talking about that in the past, what you were seeing in your own practice that really led you to do this. And I think today's topic is so apropos, not only because it is such a common condition, something that we really, really need to get a handle on effective treatments for, but interestingly enough, depression is much more common in women than in men.
Absolutely.
So here we are coming up on the conference, and such a wonderful opportunity for women to take advantage of such an incredible day and learn so much about really, getting a handle on everything in their life, that's pulling them in so many directions, and in many cases leading to depression and anxiety. And I'm glad you mentioned earlier too, I did want to talk about both, and I started thinking about it. They're both such big topics, so I think next time we'll talk about anxiety and effective treatments for that.
Do you want to talk about situational versus biochemical?
Yeah, when I think about depression, I kind of divide it in my head as far as, sometimes there are reasons that we're depressed. Something happens, a divorce, a death of a loved one. There are many situations that can occur in our life that would cause depression, but there are some times that people are depressed and they don't have any particular reason that they can come up with. I can speak personally from it because as a child I suffered from non-situational depression. I had absolutely no reason to be depressed, and it turned out to be a purely biochemical reason, and was able to effectively treat that with natural, no side effect treatments. So I look at both kind of parts of it, and I thought that was such a great opportunity for us to talk about the fusion of it because, like I said, depression is such a complex issue. Sometimes it's situational, sometimes it might be biochemical, many times it's both.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many times that it's both. Maybe sometimes people have a predisposition towards depression, genetic or otherwise, but then situations happen that worsen that, kind of push them over the edge, and that's why our fusion approach is so important, because we're addressing all the different aspects, both the psychological and the physical aspects of it. So I'll talk a little bit about how I deal with it from more of the physical, biochemical standpoint. And that's really a topic that even the causes of depression, there's still a lot of debate. I think with our conventional treatment, it's pretty much the accepted belief that it is a biochemical imbalance, because the medications that are conventionally prescribed for depression are to alter our brain chemistry, to attempt to bring back more of a balance to that brain chemistry when we're lacking certain neurotransmitters, for instance, or they're low, causing depression to increase those. So there are a lot of different causes. I'm just going to really focus on a few important causes that are non-situational, and hormonal is a big one.
Huge.
And going back to our conference, this is very tied to women, but it is not just women. Both for women and men, there are hormonal links to depression. So I want to talk about both. But like I said, depression is twice as prevalent in women as in men. And one of the reasons that they believe that is related to hormones, because there is a direct relationship between estrogen and serotonin, one of the important brain neurotransmitters that is implicated in depression. So what we have found is that estrogen is kind of like nature's SSRI for women. It is a relationship where when you increase estrogen, you increase serotonin levels, and when estrogen levels drop, serotonin levels drop. That's why we see depression and conditions like menopause and premenopause, all of the different hormonally related conditions in women that can be tied to depression. So that is the female sex hormone connection. Men also have a very, very important connection to depression and sex hormone, because testosterone plays a very important antidepressant effect. When men become low in testosterone as they age, they typically feel not only tired but depressed. And when they start to seek hormone replacement therapies, natural therapies to boost their hormone levels, that's one of the things that they notice. Not only does their energy level skyrocket, but they don't feel depressed anymore. So it has a very antidepressant effect.
I'm going to go ahead and take us to commercial break, and when we come back, we'll keep talking about this very important topic. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm John Weaver with Portside Realty. When my wife and I were investing in properties, some of the properties we purchased were from GL Homes. We did this because we only wanted to invest in quality properties, and we consider GL Homes to be very high quality. The customer service was also excellent. Our own home was a GL home before we moved to the beach after our children left for college. Now, GL Homes is again selling beautiful new homes, and many people are buying them. I'm not affiliated with GL Homes, but I'm telling you this for one simple reason. If you're interested in a new home from GL Homes, call me first. I will rebate 1.5% of the price of the house and lot back to you. Example, if you purchase a $500,000 house, this would be $7,500 that you would get back. I'll also be helpful with the purchasing process because I know a little bit about it. It's that simple. You can contact me, John Weaver, at 754-224-0572 for this and any other of your real estate needs. Again, that's John Weaver at 754-224-0572.
Your path to true health and wellness is unique and requires treating the whole person, not just a disease, or worse, a set of symptoms. Founded and led by Dr. Elizabeth King, the International Holistic Center in Fort Lauderdale offers the most effective and comprehensive approach to health and wellness by fusing conventional and alternative therapies to address the whole person. From the moment you step into the spa-like atmosphere at IHC and meet the expert multidisciplinary staff, you'll know that you've entered a place dedicated to providing exemplary physical, emotional, and spiritual care tailored to meet your specific needs. Located at 3471 North Federal Highway, Suite 410 in Fort Lauderdale, IHC specialists offer acupuncture, counseling, life coaching, thermography, on-demand, massage therapy, and a lot more. For more information or to make an appointment, please call 954-903-9426. That's 954-903-9426. Or visit them on the web at ihchealthfusion.com. Feeling good is now an option.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Elizabeth King. I'm so happy you're joining us today. We're here on Thursdays at noon. Saturday, the show replays at 7 p.m. We're live streaming, so you can watch us. If you're at work right now or at home, wherever you are, you can just pull up and just get to see and meet Dr. David and myself. Dr. David is my co-host, and he's also the Doctor of Oriental Medicine at International Holistic Center. If you suffer from pain, depression, anxiety, and Dr. David and I work very closely together. We do what is called Health Fusion, and he is definitely there to answer your questions as far as the body. I'm there for the mind, and we want you to get better, and that's what we're here for. Today we're talking about depression. If you know of anyone that's suffering from depression, please tell them to watch this show on Saturday if they do not have an opportunity to catch it today. It is so important. That is the number one condition, mental health condition, that I get very concerned, because what happens is most people that are in true depression, they might do a permanent solution to a temporary problem, is what I used to tell my kids, and commit suicide. So it's a very scary place to be when you're really in a dark place. So thank you for joining us today. I'm glad you're here. If you see this beautiful centerpiece right here and you just tuned in, this is my mascot and my symbol for Suit Stilettos and Lipstick, which is our conference coming up for women. Please take a look on our website. You can go to our website or go to suitstilettosandlipstick.com and purchase your tickets for July 12th. Men are invited, but it is a women's conference, so you will be outnumbered, I guarantee it. Well, we're talking about depression, a very, very serious topic. So, Dr. David, you were talking about the biochemical components of depression. You want to go ahead and continue?
Yes, and we were talking about the relationship to hormones, and we talked about the important relationship between depression and both male and female sex hormones. But there is another endocrine gland that's very, very tied to depression, and that's the thyroid gland. And hypothyroidism, interestingly, again, is more common in women than in men. But the thyroid, hypothyroidism, an under-functioning thyroid gland, in that it is not producing enough hormone, can be a cause all by itself of depression. But it is also important to have a fully functioning thyroid in order to make sufficient amounts of the brain neurotransmitters like serotonin that are our natural antidepressants. So the thyroid is very, very important when people are suffering from hypothyroidism. Some of the classical symptoms, they're metabolism is sluggish, so they may have a little bit of weight issues, which can contribute to depression all by itself. But they also experience a lot of fatigue and many times depression. So even though there are many symptoms of hypothyroidism, hypothyroidism is very, very difficult sometimes to diagnose, even with our current testing. The testing is not completely dependable. So you don't have to have all of the symptoms of hypothyroidism to suspect that you're suffering from that. A person who is just suffering from depression, that may be the only symptom that they have of hypothyroidism. So if you are suffering from depression, that is one of the things that I want you to get tested for. And my take-home message on hormones is testing. Get tested. If you're a woman, get your thyroid tested and have your female sex hormones levels tested. And we do that at our center. If you want to talk about who does that there.
Dr. Helene Leonetti, who is at our center right now, she comes once a month, and actually she's one of our speakers at the conference. I'm very excited for that because she's so knowledgeable. She's an MD, and I say she's gone rogue because she is a specialist in integrative holistic medicine now. And so she started as a gynecologist, OBGYN, and now she's really fused everything together and really deals with women's issues at the core level, which is hormones. I am so excited that you're talking about that. It's so under diagnosed, and so so many times people don't even think to even look into that. So
Absolutely.
that's your first stop, really.
Yes.
It's looking into your hormones.
Absolutely.
Dr. Helene does a saliva test, which we're very excited about. ZRT, who is one of our sponsors. I'm going to put in a plug for them. They created this lab test, saliva test, and we're very excited that she's utilizing that test because it's so on the money, and women are getting very, very good results. And so make an appointment to see Dr. Leonetti if you're in the general vicinity.
Excellent.
I know people are watching us all over the world, but find a Dr. Helene somewhere else if you're not in this area. I know that she does practice in New Jersey as well, but if you're down here, come see us at the center.
Excellent. And men, it's the same for you as well. Both get your thyroid tested and have your testosterone levels tested. Another condition besides hormones that is a more biochemical relationship to depression is stress, because there is a direct relationship between stress and certain stress chemicals in the body, specifically cortisol. And
Now you're talking my language.
yes.
Yes.
And stress has always been suspected to be greatly connected to depression. And in fact, that we do find that when a person is under chronic high levels of stress, that they have an elevated production of cortisol from their adrenal glands. And cortisol, interestingly, inhibits serotonin. So that means that if you have increased cortisol levels, you're going to have decreased serotonin levels. And that's going to lead potentially to depression. So very important to, again, get tested. Now, in the testing, some of the testing that we do, we use a company called Senesco International, and they do a type of testing where we test for both the brain neurotransmitter levels and the adrenal stress hormone levels like cortisol. So very important to test for both to find out all of the different factors that are contributing to your depression. Now, on the break, you were mentioning something that I think would be really important to talk about right now when we're talking about stress, and that is coping mechanisms. How do we cope with stresses and events in our life?
Well, what I was sharing with Dr. David during commercial break is that so oftentimes what I notice is that folks that get into a real severe depression and cannot get out is because they have not found those coping mechanisms, or were not taught, I should say, not taught the coping mechanisms that they need. Now, that's not always the case. I'm generalizing, of course. And a lot of it has to do with trauma. And I'm a trauma specialist, as you all know, if you've been watching my show or know of me. I'm a trauma specialist. I always look at what happened in your youth especially between the ages of 5 and 7. We're looking always into those years. What happened during that time that there might have been a breakdown in how you deal with stressors in your life? We have fight, flight, and freeze. Fight, flight, and freeze. And we don't talk a lot about freeze, but freeze is really post-traumatic stress. And when it freezes, when your memory freezes, it's very difficult for when you are now an older person, an adult person, when stressors are happening, for you to be able to, in a tough situation, in a threatening situation, come up with the right answers. So what happens is you shut down instead. Instead of fighting back, you retreat. And that is what we have to work on. So what is important for me as a trauma specialist is, number one, parenting. Teaching effective parenting. Because if your child is going through a traumatic experience within those years, those informative developmental years, I need to give you the tools so that you can give your child the tools so that that child can develop with the correct coping mechanisms. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I had the best mom and I had the best dad and I'm still going through depression. Well, that's obviously possible, and then we need to look at hormones and see what's going on with that. But what I have seen in my clinical practice, that if you are experiencing depression, a situational depression that will not go away, like you cannot get out of that funk, and it's not clinical, you cannot get out, you are lacking coping mechanisms, because otherwise you would be going, okay, I went through this, I've gone through all my grief and loss, and that's appropriate. In fact, I want you to go through grief and loss, all of the stages, including the crying, the anger, the denial, everything. You have to go through that as a human being to be able to get out. So you go through all that, and then once you get out, which within 6 months you should be out of any situation for sure. Okay, so like if you lost a parent and you're devastated and you're crying and weeping for anywhere between 3 to 6 months, okay, fine. Are you getting up and going to work? I want to know those things. Are you eating? And are you still sad? Okay, that's normal. That's normal range. Are you in bed and you cannot get up out of bed because your parent passed away 3 years ago? You have not gotten those coping mechanisms. So we need to work on putting those into place. And you may be tested and your hormones are fine, everything is fine, but you don't know how to cope with stressors. Does that make sense? Does that answer that question?
Absolutely.
I hope that gave everyone a complete, I know it's a lot of information, but just know that depression you don't play with, and if you're in a funk for too long, you need to see a professional.
Absolutely. And I like the way that you defined it, the fight, flight, freeze. I hadn't heard it said in that way before, and it really struck me, having suffered with depression early on in my life. I can really speak to how that condition is almost like a frozen state.
It is a frozen state.
It's very, very interesting. And when you're in that state, it so alters your way of thinking that sometimes you don't even want to seek treatment.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to sleep. You just want to escape and stay in that frozen state. And for those of you suffering with that, I so encourage you to push forward, to push out of that and look for effective treatments, because there are effective treatments and treatments that have low to no side effects.
Which we're going to talk about when we come back from commercial break.
Yes.
And as far as the PTSD, that's a whole nother topic, but it's a very important topic,
Yes.
and you need to really be aware of that. We're going to be going to commercial break now, and we're going to be right back.
Hi, I'm David Webb, the Doctor of Oriental Medicine and Acupuncture Physician at International Holistic Center. I offer a variety of treatment techniques, including acupuncture and many non-needle techniques, to help reduce or eliminate the symptoms associated with a broad range of health conditions, including acute and chronic pain, allergies and food sensitivities, neuropathies, and post-stroke rehabilitation. If you suffer from any acute or chronic illness, don't hesitate to give me a call. I offer a free 10-minute phone consultation. So please call me today at 954-903-9426. Again, that's 954-903-9426 and ask for Dr. David Webb. Please visit our website at www.ihchealthfusion.com. And remember, feeling good is now an option.
Your path to true health and wellness is unique and requires treating the whole person, not just a disease, or worse, a set of symptoms. Founded and led by Dr. Elizabeth King, the International Holistic Center in Fort Lauderdale offers the most effective and comprehensive approach to health and wellness by fusing conventional and alternative therapies to address the whole person. From the moment you step into the spa-like atmosphere at IHC and meet the expert multidisciplinary staff, you'll know that you've entered a place dedicated to providing exemplary physical, emotional, and spiritual care tailored to meet your specific needs. Located at 3471 North Federal Highway, Suite 410 in Fort Lauderdale, IHC specialists offer acupuncture, counseling, life coaching, thermography, on-demand, massage therapy, and a lot more. For more information or to make an appointment, please call 954-903-9426. That's 954-903-9426. Or visit them on the web at ihchealthfusion.com. Feeling good is now an option.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Elizabeth King. I am so happy you're joining us today on Thursday, even though it's rainy in South Florida. I hope you, wherever you are, you're safe and dry and just happy to be alive today. And I hope you're getting great information from us. Dr. David Webb is my co-host today, and we're talking about a very serious, very important topic, depression, and we want to answer your questions. I know, people that are depressed and are listening to this program are usually very shy to ask questions, so I'm not getting as many questions. It's very interesting to me, the dynamic of it. I'm not getting as many questions as I do on the other shows, and that's because you feel paralyzed, that you don't even know how to ask, you don't have self-confidence, you lack in that. And if that's happening to you and you just can't get the nerve to ask a question online, call me and let us talk. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. Now, we were talking before the break about some of the more non-situational or biochemical kind of relationships to depression. There was one last one that I quickly wanted to mention because we talked about the hormones. Big. Stress,
big.
Very, very big. But an interesting one is also genetics, and we don't sometimes think about is depression genetic? Is that something that can be passed on? And there is some evidence of a genetic connection, and it's specifically that one of the brain neurotransmitters, dopamine, that about 35%, that's a pretty big percent, of Americans actually carry an altered gene that misprograms the production of that particular neurotransmitter, dopamine. Well, that's kind of interesting to my story and my case because I had become a vegetarian as a child, and it was after I became a vegetarian that I entered into this very, very deep depression. And I remember after I discovered a safe and effective treatment for it, I remember reading about a particular amino acid that I used, which is what makes dopamine, and that particular amino acid, there was some suggestion that it might be easier, especially like on a vegetarian diet, to become deficient in that amino acid. So I might not have been getting enough of it. But then, later in seeing this statistic, I wonder, there's a possibility I may be one of that 35% because what I have found in depression is that you can go onto the Mayo Clinic website, and they clearly state that when they're looking at the biochemical aspect of it and brain neurotransmitters, they implicate 3 different neurotransmitters: serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. And serotonin and dopamine, I think, are the most important because epinephrine is made from dopamine. So they're very, very important, two very important and different neurotransmitters. One is relaxing, one is stimulating. Dopamine is energizing and stimulating. Serotonin is relaxing, anti-anxiety, but also anti-depression. And I had that type of depression where I was severely fatigued, no motivation, and depression with no situational cause of it. And when I took an amino acid that is the building block of dopamine, completely transformed me. And I have recommended that amino acid for many, 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 many hundreds of people since then with unbelievable results. So that's something that people need to be aware of too. Sometimes you just may have that genetic predisposition towards depression.
I also want to point out here a couple of things. Number one, don't get off of your antidepressants just because we're talking about this. That is very, very dangerous. You need a medical doctor to help you get off. And what we do in our center is we work with your doctor to assist you. If you wanted to wean down, you do not get off of antidepressants just like that. You really can do your body some damage. So let's not do that.
Absolutely. Very, very important.
Very
and
important.
when we deal with the natural treatments through Senesco, they actually have titration protocols where they can help to wean off of those antidepressants because, like you said, extremely important. Do not cold turkey stop your pharmaceutical
exactly.
antidepressant.
Yeah, we want to be clear on that. And the other thing I wanted to just piggyback on something you were talking in reference to genetics. I also see families that you see a lot more depression, and you have to wonder, and I wonder this all the time, is it environment or biology?
Right. Or both.
Or both. It's that question. So if mom was depressed, dad is an alcoholic, and this is what you grew up in, are you going to be depressed and possibly be an alcoholic? I will say that in my professional career, the answer is yes. You're going to have to work doubly hard to get those coping mechanisms so that you do not become that you do not want to become.
Exactly.
And I'm being honest, and all of my clients say, Dr. King, you're so honest. Absolutely. I need to tell it to you the way it is, because you don't come to me to sugarcoat it. You need to work really hard. It's just like, well, for example, I had polio as a child. I love to do a lot of different things. Well, I have a choice. Do I sit down and get wheeled around, or do I work doubly hard to get where I want to be? I have to go against my body. We get that when it's your body. We don't get it when it's your mind. When it's your mind, you have to even work even more so. So I see that a lot in families. If you came from a family that has depression, most likely you may be suffering from depression as well.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about solutions, because we don't have a whole lot of
we have
like 3 minutes.
And people want to know what are those effective treatments. I just want to point out, we don't need to spend a lot of time on the conventional treatments because the side effects are all over the television, commercials. But it is puzzling to me, how bad those commercials are as far as, you listen to them and you wonder, why would I even consider taking that medicine? Yet they are handed out almost like candy. Statistics are showing not only that depression is greatly increasing, but the number of prescription antidepressants being doled out has increased dramatically as well. So what are other alternatives besides these that carry very strong side effects? And one of the most concerning side effects of these antidepressants is it increases the tendency for suicide, as you're aware.
Yeah, it is amazing that on the commercial, and it may increase your desire to commit suicide. I'm like, well, what kind of a medication makes you do what you don't want to do? So yeah.
So we need other options, and like I've already stressed,
we have 2 minutes, so we need other options in 2 minutes.
Testing is very important. Call us about testing. We have a lot of information about that. Don't go into this blindly know what is causing your depression. Then we deal with things like diet, toxins in diet, food sensitivities. We've had whole programs on food sensitivities. Food sensitivities themselves can cause anxiety and depression. The sugar candida connection. People who have overgrowth of candida is a big cause of depression. So looking at sensitivity to sugar, how much sugar is in your diet, very important. Omega-3 fatty acids are very important in depression too, and looking at, are you getting enough of that in your diet? And beyond what we've talked about as far as using counseling, and regular stress reduction, we also offer things like acupuncture and oriental medicine, which is so phenomenal for treating any kind of condition, including anxiety, depression, and so forth. So there are so many different options and treatments for depression that I think need to be pursued first, because they have low to no side effects and are very supportive to the body before you are taking a pill that has, number one, great side effects, and number two, is going to be very difficult to wean off.
Well, great place for us to end our show. We do have to go ahead and leave you for today, but I hope you got a lot of great information. Give us a call at 954-903-9426 and look at our website, which is www.ihchealthfusion.com. Get your tickets for Suits, Stilettos, and Lipstick, The Balancing Act, ladies. That is July 12th, Suits, Stilettos, and Lipstick.com. Call us, 954-903-9426, and we'll see you back on Thursday next week at 12 o'clock. Have a wonderful one, everyone.
Bye,
and remember,
everyone.
Feeling good is now an option. Thank you, Dr. David.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Dr. Elizabeth King Show, brought to you by International Holistic Center, 3471 North Federal Highway, Fort Lauderdale, where feeling good is now an option. Call 954